Pleasure to meet you.
You too, sir. Thanks for joining me here this morning. Tell me first, where did you first meet Brandon Phillips? He's our mutual connection that linked this one up for us here.
Uh, well, being a river guy, he's got 2 weeks off, and so he's bored out of his skull in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He just moved there and he didn't know what to do. So I think he Googled, boat stuff Tulsa, and my Chinese junk build in the front yard must have come up, and so he contacted me like hundreds of other people have, and said, "Hey, can I help?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." And he started showing up. And he brought me COVID one day, but it was a mild virus apparently, so I didn't even catch it. But
Well, that was nice of him.
thing I remember doing with him the most, he's been over dozens of times and worked on the boat, but we installed the Wunderstedt variable pitch control propeller system into the engine room one day, and well, actually it was 3 days, very close proximity working, and I remember him bashing his head really good on the vise on the table above that twice, which was explains Brandon real well. It's like, I understand doing it once, but twice. That's a tough learning curve there. But anyway, he's a great guy to work with, and he had COVID apparently when he got back to his boat, so he had me, told me about it. He carries bad diseases, so he can't even do that right. So I didn't get sick from him at all. So and he's been over dozens of times and worked on, but he became a good friend. So we do dinners out and that sort of thing. We have a fondness for the same Mexican taco stand too.
He did talk a lot on my show about food and every pit stop along the way from St. Paul to New Orleans.
He
But
would be an excellent resource.
yeah. Um, Fill me in, I guess, on your YouTube experience. I see you've been on there since '06. You've been publishing since then. When did this boat project begin?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe. So when I got kind of the idea, and was doing a little bit of YouTube before then, but I'm there's not a lot of people building large steel sailing boats in Oklahoma. And so I knew I needed a connection out there, and I wanted to form a little community. I figured 3,000 viewers would be about what we gather in of other people. I'd been to some boat shows and that sort of thing and enjoyed that. So I started making videos. Some guy from Chicago, he puts in slate roofs and on houses. He wrote me and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about building a metal boat. I'd like to come work with you for a couple of weeks." And I said, "Yeah, sure." So he brought his camper down and we had a blast working on the boat. He's a smarter man than I, because he went back and said, I'm going to buy a boat. So, and he did that, and he's been up to Alaska and back on it, doing a great job. But my love is building things. So I picked the right course. And after, that got onto a video, then other people saw that and said, "Hey, I'd like to come work with you." And so I said, yes. And he just kept saying yes. And so I got about 450 people that have come, like Brandon, and worked on the boat for as little as 2 days. I don't let you do anything less than that, because we bullshit for half the first day anyway. And because Bill's here now, we're finally getting some work done today. And 2 weeks, some of them would come back, year after year on vacations or passing through, truck drivers. It just matters. I've had everything from engineers to doctors to lawyers to truck drivers, just all the way down to even to Brandon, tugboat captains.
Well, how far away? What's, I guess, the farthest away someone's traveled to help you out?
I've had two in from Australia, so separate, and fantastic guys. This one guy, he'd been to the United States before. He was a surfer out in California. He was even on that. You remember that old show, The Dating Game, where you had to pick which girl you're gonna go out with? He was on that. He's chiseled cut like that. And he came up. He was in Australia. He builds bars. That's what he does. They commission him, and he goes out and does all the work for the interior, for the bar back and all that. And so, so he welded studs into my boat for the. And I was still working, so I put my dockers on and go to the office and come home, see him at lunch, and work a little bit with him. And then he was all the studs inside for the furring strips to hold the walls, the interior walls on. He must have welded. I mean, there must be 1,000 of them down there. He'd weld those in from 8 to 5, and then he'd hop in his car and go see one of the bars in Tulsa to pick up and steal ideas and do it again the next day. Just fantastic people. You know, it's like everybody's a little bit different, but they all have some sort of skill to share, or they want to learn something. I've taught a lot of people how to weld. You know, it's not hard. MIG gun, no big deal. No,
Is that what you did professionally?
no. I started off. I came out of IT. I'm a computer geek. You know, you want to talk about Oracle reverse indexes and partitioning tables? I'm your guy. So everything on the boat was, you know, I learned it from people like Brandon and anybody that would stop that was in the industry that would give me some information. So, and it's worked out fantastic. I've had chief engineers off oil tankers in here, you know, and he welded all my fuel supply system together. So it's like, yeah, it's fantastic, you know, education for me because I just get the right people and say, here, you know, what you need. And they go to work and I'm the student.
Well, you mentioned, originally looking for maybe, 3,000 viewers. It looks like your channel is up to 221,000 subscribers, over 1,000 videos published, and 81 million views.
That's kind of the cool part about it is we struck a chord amongst other people who want to build things and are building things, and we do it as a community sort of thing. And I think that really does that interests a lot of people. I mean, I'm all about, you know, chasing your dreams, but I'm doing it, you know, I think about doing it realistically and asking for help and accepting help. And I think it's really important that we accept help and, you know, take people for where they are and what they want to do. Some of my guys, you know, they don't want, they're like Hollis. The dude is amazing, but he never wants to work with anybody else. So it's like, that's cool, Hollis. You know, what do you need? And I'll get him, you know, the gas, the materials, whatever he wants. And it's like, it's all, you know, I don't give him any instruction how to do it because he's way more advanced than I am. And then other people come in and it's like, you know, I want to learn how to weld. It's like, well, okay, I'll give you my 3-minute welding class. And then you're welding. And if you don't weld good, then you'll be a good grinder, you know, because we can just grind it out and do it again. And it's amazing how many people can pick that skill up and run with it in a matter of a short matter of time, in a short time. I had one kid from Germany, Chris, and great photographer, but never done anything with his hands. He just flew over from Germany. He's been over twice. And, you know, I gave him that 3-minute welding class and he's off. You know, I made sure it was flat down, easy stuff, right? His third weld looked as good as mine. You know, it's like, dude, you're welding in the engine room. You have all these frames, they have to have these, you know, have to be solid welded in. So here you go. He about 5 days later, I showed him overhead welding. And he started to understand that there's a learning curve to this process. So, but he picked it up. You know, and he was happy. That's kind of the whole thing is put people where they want to be and what they want to do and let them go, get out of their way.
Well, fill me in a little bit, the basics about the boat, dimensions, how she's built, engines, all that kind of stuff before we get
She's
into your story.
okay. Well, Seeker is 74-foot long on the hull, 83 overall. Got a beam of about 24. The water's beam is about 14 and a half. She's twin keeled, so 2 keels going down. So she can sit on her keels when the tide goes out. She's 3-masted, Chinese junk rigged sailing motor sailor. So she's unstayed mast. She's got a lot of unique things in it. A lot of them come from technology that's a couple thousand years old. And then we've added some other stuff to it, like the controllable pitch propeller. And we have a shroud around our prop, just like you guys on the rivers do. I don't have flanking rudders, but I sure can see the use for them. Just one big fishtail rudder out back, but she's very heavily built. So I have run her into rock walls on the Arkansas River. I know what a training wall is now. Okay, one of my charts had training wall, the other one had nothing. And I was like, I'm in 23 feet of water. There couldn't be. I was like, okay, there is a rock wall ahead of us. So I know what a training wall is now. We brought the front of the boat 10 inches up out of the water and just threw it in reverse and backed her off and jumped in to see what kind of damage we had. All we did is scratch up some paint. So it's you know, I like it that we built a tough boat, and the rudder system is the same way. You know, it's not a It looks more like one of your guys' boats than it does any sailboat you'll ever see. So she's tough.
Yeah, it's a solid steel hull, huh?
Yeah, it's so we start off with 1 inch plate on the bottom. So those are the keels. We need weight down there, and then there's 12 tons of lead in the keels, and the keels are all everything from the that part on up to the decks is 1/4 inch steel, just A36 steel, and then 3/16 steel on the cabin tops, and the pilot house is aluminum. The funny thing about her is she's not built like a normal boat. She's origami, which means that she started off as two large flat sheets of steel with darts cut into those, kind of like you would a shirt or a dress, like you're sewing something together. And then big chain come along, we pulled the steel together to close up that dart and welded it as we did. And so what you come up with is half a boat. And then you do the other side, you get the other half, and you stick the two of them together. You weld in a bow and a transom, and you've got a hull. So then the framing goes in. So the bulkheads go in after that, and then the tankage for down below. We have integrated fuel tanks and water tanks. So you build from the basically the outside in rather than doing it the inside out and skinning over frames. There's literally the only frames in this boat are the longitudinals that we pulled in with it, and the bulkheads that we put in after the fact, after we had the hull. So it's kind of a backwards build, but it worked really well. It's a fast way of getting a hull together. But after that, you're back to just building a boat like everybody else. You got thousands of other things that have to go in.
Well, I got you. Well, let's get into your story.
Okay. Now this boat pretty much is my story. So I've been telling it. What do you want to know?